much, Dr. Lane. And I think after all the papers are there, we can discuss all the papers together, actually. Yeah. So I think I'll invite Dr. Ekni. You're from SISG. And this is Understanding America, Contesting the Liberal Projection of America's Image.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, MSc, for giving this privilege to present this paper. Well, this paper calls for in-depth knowledge of American history and profound understanding of contemporary America, which I am not in a position to clearly assert that I am already an expert in this whole thing. But I take this privilege because this is related to my topic, which more than expounding the topic, I'm expecting input from your side, because this will be of big help to my chapter and to my thesis. I just pass my synopsis, so it is a big evaluation exercise. Well, my interest in this topic comes about in the light of the distorted image that the liberals, the secularists, and the humanists are projecting America to be, which I feel is which I feel has been is not justified to some group of people. So I am here to contest the liberal projection of America's image. Well, America is predominantly a Christian country. 70 to 80% of the population are Christian. However, there are 60% of the population which comprises of atheists, the agnostics, Jews, non-affiliates, and nothing in particular, and some are minorities which make up like Hindu, Muslim, and all these things make up another 4%. But according to my statistics and data, I found that it is the 60% who holds and who sways the American politics, the economic and the social construct. They wield the power. They are the most affluent society, the most intellect, and big business houses, MNCs, and so their powers to influence. I mean, they also want the media, and all this popular culture, mainstreaming of all the popular cultures are all in their capacity to do so. And in so doing, they tend to project America as a post-Christian, a post-Protestant, and a post-religious country. Well, they claim that America has become the most secular, the most intellectual nation on earth, and also humanism, they claim, is a new religion of America. So they have replaced Christianity and other religious form with humanism. Humanism, as they claim, is a new religion of America, therefore worshipping God in public spaces, for example, school prayers and other Christian activities are being discounted. It is being looked upon with abhorrence and disgust. And so in many parts of America, this experience has been frequently experienced by Christians and other religious bodies. The Pope Francis calls this polite persecution of believers in the West. So this phenomena is not like the it's not like the olden it's not like the crucial, it's not violent and all that thing, but it is very subtle in a sense, but it's very psychological, and it's very powerful, it's very destructive to the religious body and to believers. Well, universities especially has become a hotbed of postmodernist, post-Protestantism, post-Christian, and all the debates about the religious issues has been so much discounted and discussed in universities. So in light of this liberal projection of America, I wish to contest this in the historical perspective, to the historical perspective of America. So a brief discourse on the American history will be made. America is unlike any other country. Most countries inherit their tradition, their culture, and their custom, but America, being a nation of immigrants, does not have history in the historical sense of its own civilization. To quote Stanley Bosworth in The End of American Protestantism, I say that America is the first great experiment in Protestant social formation. Protestantism in Europe always assumed and depended on cultural habits that had been created by Catholic Christianity. America is the first place Protestantism did not have to define itself over against previous Catholic culture. So America is the exemplification of a constructive Protestant social imagination. In so saying, he is trying to explain that the Protestantism in Europe, and the difference between the American Protestantism and European Protestantism is that although Europe also converted into Protestant, they became Protestant, but it was only in the essence. The substance was not changed. But because they had been Catholics, their custom, their culture, their practice was still like Catholic. The way the church was functioning, the way their daily routines and everything. But in America, there was no culture. It is a neutral land. It was foreign. So it was the first place where Protestantism was played out. So it became the Protestantism became a culture of America. It also became the identity of America. America say Protestantism becomes America. So they become synonymous. That is our opinion putting forward here. So America is also the first Christian republic in the world, and Protestantism in America is unique because they do not emulate any other culture. It is their own creation. It is the culture played out. It is a new culture which becomes American identity, which is the Protestant culture. So they are synonymous there. Now, a brief immigration wave, history about the immigration of into America. There were three waves of immigration. It is called the old, new, and the newest. So the old immigration was considerably made up of the Western and the Northern European. Basically, they are in the English-speaking population, and the wave almost lasted till 1850. So the first discovery, Columbus, before that, the real English settlement in America was in 1607 in Jamestown, Virginia. That is the first permanent English settlement. So from that moment on, the huge immigration that was coming lasted till 1850, and it is known as the old immigration wave. And the second, the Western and the Northern Europeans. The first wave consisted of only the Northern and the Western, and they melded together, and it is also called the they have these Anglo-Saxon characteristics, so it was easy for them to assimilate, to meld, and the first wave had do not have so much problem. The second wave is called the new immigration, and it begins after the it coincided with the American Civil War, which took place between April 1861 and 1865. So from that moment till almost 1920, that consists of the second wave, in the Eastern and Western Europeans. It consists of the Eastern and Western Europeans made up the majority of the second wave, And it was in the second wave where Catholics, Jews, and other religion began coming to America for the first time. The newest immigration happens after 1965 by an act called the Immigration and Nationality Act, also known as Hart-Celler Act. This was the direct result of the consequence of Second World War. So this was the first time America was open to Asia, Africa, Latin America, and so these immigrants brought the first two immigration we kind of assimilate in a melting pot concept or Amero-conformity, but this third wave has a problem. They did not assimilate. They did not even speak English. They don't want to change their religion. They keep their ethnicity, their customs intact. So this third wave is the part where the problem begins in the paper, in the context of the presentation. Well, if we look at the early history of America, there were 13 colonies, and they all had their constitution. They were all Commonwealth England, Commonwealth colonies. Each state and province possessed their own constitution, and in the constitution, Canada became independent in 1776, but even till 1830, it is known that the federal constitution was not so much in effect. So even till 1930, they were using their own constitution, and in that constitution it is very well prescribed and informed that only Protestant can hold public office, and that the concept of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant was very strongly implemented, and there was so much torture between each denominations. For example, the Puritans, they occupied the New England, the Quakers, Presbyterians took the border area. So that way the Baptists or the Episcopalians took the Southern Virginia area. So there was so much skirmishes even among the Christian Protestant denominations. And so even the Supreme Court ruling in 1892, that is way after the American Constitution was established, after the independence, the Supreme Court ruled that America is a Christian nation, and the principle of Christian religion are embodied in the fundamental law of the land. So that so proved that if you really had the Protestant beginning, the Christian beginning, the history of Protestantism and American history is one and the same. Now, okay. So if we look at the values of the American values, for example, from Presbyterian churches, the concept of self-governance, democracy, representative self-government, democratic and civil administration, these are imbibed into American culture, and the Puritan concept of anti-authority brought about the concept of individualism, egalitarianism, optimism, confidence, and the manifest destiny, shining city upon shining hill. All this concept translate into spreading of democracy, justice, and liberty, which America till today justify in the process of campaign in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these things. They still claim that this is the concept of the manifest destiny. The priesthood of all believers lead to the concept of equality of everyone, equality of before law, before God, doctrine of sin and depravity. This leads to the construction of check and balance, and the sola scriptura. Sola scriptura concept leads to the creation of this constitution, the supremacy of the constitution. So Max Weber also has put in that there is Protestantism, which leads to the rise of capitalism also. And well, so far it was Protestant and one, but then there was a split. A split happened in 1859 because of factor Charles Darwin's original species was considered the reason why there was a split. And so the church split into two groups, the evangelicals and the mainline Christians. So the evangelicals became more fundamental, they stick to the old Bible concept around nothing, but the mainline Christians, they tend to look at Bible in an interpretive way, a conventional way. So that difference is what they expounded and took the form of the Democrats and Republicans. They are both Christians, but for example, questions of gay, lesbian, abortion, and all these things are looked upon in the platform. Republican platform is very clear about this, that this is against a political party, their manifesto, but the Democrats, on the other hand, will look at this and say, we have to interpret Bible according to time and all that thing. So this split created the liberal and the conservative groups in America. And along with this, the communism, rise of communism after Second World War, there were so many intellects, communists who infiltrate American universities, and they also claim that they are responsible for this movement and all this dissent and assertion, and so the third wave, 1960, after the wave immigrant that came after 1965, became a very big political vote bank for Democratic Party, and so they began to invite them and push away the Christian image, picture, and their principles in order to gain votes and all that thing. So now the liberals that I'm referring to are the ones who made up the third waves and all the old Christian groups, the mainline churches. So they have been projecting, saying that the First Amendment and the concept of secular is that America has never been a Christian country. It was secular in the first place because of they claimed the First Amendment that the state should not sponsor church, religion, and neither should it stop from practicing the religion. But in conclusion, I wish to borrow the thought of Maclay, professor in he said that there are two forms of secularism in America, political secularism and philosophical secularism. So he said that America practices political secularism, whereas the claim made by the liberals is that it is philosophical secularism. In philosophical secularism, there is no concept of God. The concept of God is out of the state, and the state and God cannot relate. But in political secularism, there is space for religion. And he claims that it's because of the Christian nature, that the concept of doctrine of Christianity, that concept of two kingdoms, kingdom on earth and kingdom in heaven. Like Jesus Christ has claimed that my kingdom is not from here, but he said pay your tax to Caesar and all that thing. So the Christianity itself has this concept of splitting two things. So the split of church and the state comes from that concept, but they are reinforcing each other. That is what Maclay says, and so I wish to put my case here. I might not have justified any case, but then that is so far the argument that I have so now, and thank you for the time.